Welcome back to the Talking Archive. My name is Josh Jacobs, and we're continuing our conversation with Jeff Davis. Now, last we left off, he was describing his journey to possibly being on the big one, 89 WLS in Chicago, and here's more of that story.
And one day, Mike Patrick, who his real name is Michael Kinzer, he's on Facebook too. One day, Mike Patrick, who was on in the afternoons, I came in and he said, "They've got a new PD at WLS. You ought to send a tape." And I said, "Dude, I'm not ready." I said, "I would love to do that." I said, "But I am not ready." And he said, "No, I think you should do it. I really do." So I put together a tape, and I did something that was a little different. I put each of the segments on a cart, and I segued them like it was a multi-track, and I added a little compression and a little reverb, which we did not have. Mm-hmm. And we had the same jingle package WLS had, and we were the Rock of Virginia. And I sent the tape to John Guerin, and I sent a tape to WLS when I was down at WABB, not for a job, but because I wanted a critique. And Mike McCormick was the PD at the time, and he sent it back to me with no letter, bulk erased. I thought, what an asshole. And so when I sent my tape to Guerin, in my letter I said, "Look, if you don't like the tape, just throw it away. Don't send it back to me bulk erased like Mike did." And I sent it, and I waited. And I'd say about, a week or two later, John called laughing, and he said, "That is the funniest thing I've ever heard." And I said, "What?" "That McCormick bulk erased your tape and sent it back to you." I said, "It wasn't funny to me." I said, "I didn't take it seriously because he's an asshole." Mm-hmm. I said, "But it wasn't funny to me at all." He said, "Well, we don't do things like that at WLS anymore." He said, "I really liked your tape." He said, "I don't have anything right now." He said, "Maybe something in a few months or whatever." He said, "Take your time. Send me a tape with a little more personality." And he said, "But take your time. Don't just send me a tape tomorrow." He said, "Take your time and get something good and send it to me." Well, I went on the air that night, and I was high as a kite from that phone call, because I didn't think that I would even get a phone call from John Guerin ever. It was just beyond belief. And keep in mind, my wife at the time told me that WLS was a pipe dream. So, and I told her the WLS call. She said, "Really?" I said, "Yep." So that night...
Smoke that.
I had one of the best shows that I had ever had. And I kept that tape. I edited it, did the same treatment I did with the previous one, where I added a little reverb, made it sound like WLS, and I kept it. I didn't send it to John, because my experience with program directors is when they tell you something, you should listen and understand that they're not saying that just to be talking. They mean it. So I decided just to wait on it. I waited about a month or two, something like that. And by this time, it was April of 1974. And I sent John the tape and didn't hear anything. And I thought, okay, well, that was fucking interesting. And I'd say several weeks went by. And I thought, well, maybe he didn't get the tape. So I called John, and this was weird. Very, very weird. I believe, could be delusional, but I believe that fate has played so much a part in my life and so much a part in the things that have happened in my life that it is almost odd. Mm. So I called John, and I said, did you call me a couple of months ago and tell me to send you a tape, another tape? And he laughed, and he said, yeah, I called you. It was me. I said, well, I sent you another tape And I didn't hear anything, and he said, well, I'm so glad you called. I didn't want to call you at the radio station because I was afraid it might cause problems. He said, but can you fly into Chicago this weekend? I mean, I was speechless.
Wow. And he flew you up there, correct?
He flew me into Chicago, yeah. And I flew in, and I think I flew in on Sunday morning. No, I must have flown in on Saturday, and then flew back on Sunday night because his wife made dinner and dinner at his apartment and stuff like that. He took me around WLS, and I'm looking at everything, and I'm thinking, boy, WLS's studios are horrible. They were nothing like WGH. WGH was owned by a newspaper. They had a ton of money. And WABC and all the other stations, I think they must have needed needed some influx of cash. They were owned by ABC, and I don't think that they spent a lot of money on their facilities.
Wow.
And, what was cool is they had board operators, and I thought, wow, board operators, that's cool. So
the board operators, basically the board operators played the music for the DJs and queued up the carts, queued up the music, and basically the DJ just focused on talking and reading.
We didn't even open our own mics. We just called for it. We
wow.
just motioned for the mic to be open. So at the end of the evening, or actually it might have been before I left to come back, John said, I thought about it, and he said, we have one other person that we've interviewed, and he said, I want to offer you the job. And I didn't give him a yes. I said, well, let me think about it. And he said, well, think about it, and if you could, give me a call tomorrow and let me know if you're going to take the job or not. And I said, okay. So I went back to Newport News and told my wife about it, and I said, I've been offered the job. And she said, really? I said, yeah. About the same money. I said, but it's not a full-time job. I'd be director of special projects, and I do have a weekend air shift. And I said, I think my first air shift is going to be April 22nd if I take the job. And she said, you got to take it. And I said, yeah, I know, but I really don't like the studios. And so I went in and I told Mike Patrick the whole story, and Mike's eyes got wide, and he said, if you don't take the job, and he said, and I'm serious, I am serious, if you don't take the job, I'm going to kick your ass. He said, because very few people get that opportunity, and here you are saying maybe, maybe not. He said, I wouldn't be lukewarm about it if I were you. I said, well, I'm not lukewarm. It's just that, the money is the same, and it's more expensive to live in Chicago, and you'll work it out. Take the goddamn job. That's what he said,
Mm-hmm.
So, I turned in my resignation. Ambert Dale tried to talk me out of it. Jim Stewart, who was then the program director, told me I was lying. He said, you're lying. He said, there's no way in hell. And I said, I'll tell you what, you tune in 2 weeks from Saturday night, and you'll hear me on the air. I said, then you'll know I wasn't lying. And the look on his face, And Jim was really a nice guy. He passed on a year or two ago. I mean, he really a very, very sweet man. And Ambert said, well, Jeff, they've got nuclear weapons pointed at Chicago. And I said, Ambert, we're near one of the biggest military bases in America. You don't think they've got nuclear weapons pointed at them? The naval station was there. But, I went off to WLS, and I did so much stuff and interviewed so many different people on this show called Music People that we did. And then came the WNBC offer.
Wow. Now, in WLS, just kind of refreshing, this is the Talking Archive. My name is Josh Jacobs. We're talking with Jeff Davis. And next time we're going to be talking about his time at WNBC. And we'll be Back in a flash.